السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with the fiqh of worship, and we had talked about the shurut as-salah, the conditions for the salah, and we mentioned, as we heard, that the shurut are 6 conditions. It depends on what classification, but for the Muslim to be pure, to be in state of tahara from the minor and the major hadath, and to be pure in one's body and clothing and the spot that a person is praying on, and for the time of the salah to enter. And so the timing of the salah is a condition, covering the awrah is a condition, facing the qibla, and the intentions. And some would mention the intention to be in the pillars of the salah. After that, of course, there are many masail that we can talk about, many masail of the salah and the conditions and things like this. And the more the person learns, the more there's always things, inshallah ta'ala, with matters of knowledge. But after that, the subject is the pillars of the salah. What are the pillars of the salah? And we're just going to, I'm going to list them, inshallah ta'ala, 14 pillars of the salah that we need to memorize them, we need to know them, and it's easy when we study them because we know how to make salah. So just to pay attention to the things that we do in salah, that these are pillars of the salah. And as mentioned before, that the difference between a shart or a condition and a pillar is that the condition, you have to have the condition at all times till you finish the salah. But for the pillar, you move from one pillar to the other. And the conditions also, if it's missed without a person paying attention, for example, this can be okay and the salah is valid. But when it comes, not all of them, of course, not as a rule, but with the pillars of the salah, it can never be missed. It can never be missed whatsoever, even if it's forgetfully. A person has to make up the pillar if he's able to, or if the salah is over, then he has to repeat the entire salah. So the pillars of the salah as follows. And for those who had heard it before, it's good, inshallah ta'ala, to review and to keep on mentioning them so that we memorize them. The first pillar of the salah is to stand up for the salah. Standing, al-qiyam. And the order of the pillars, how it's mentioned by the people of knowledge, it's important to mention them like this because the order is important. So for example, a person might think that takbiratul ihram is the first one. No, al-qiyam is first. Al-qiyam, which means to stand up for the salah, comes before takbiratul ihram. So a person has to be standing first before he makes takbiratul ihram. So a person is saying takbiratul ihram while getting up from sitting, for example, then it's not valid. He has to be already standing, in position of standing. We're not talking about those who have excuses. This is a different situation, or other than the fard salah. So these are the pillars of the fard salah. So standing, al-qiyam, is number 1. Number 2 is takbiratul ihram. Takbirat al-ihram. And when we say takbirat, we're talking about pillars here. We're not talking about how to make salah and how to perfectly make the salah. We're talking about pillars. That means takbiratul ihram, what is meant by takbiratul ihram is to say Allahu Akbar. Not necessarily raising the hands and so on. Raising the hands, of course, this is the hadith of it is mutawatir. And we do that, but we're talking about the pillars, and that is to say Allahu Akbar. So if a person raises his hands, for example, without saying Allahu Akbar, he did not start the salah. So to say Allahu Akbar, that's takbiratul ihram. The third pillar of the salah is to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. And regardless of the rulings of the ma'moom versus the imam, this is also a different mas'ala here. We're not talking about this. This is in the subject of Salatul Jama'ah to be discussed. But as a pillar of the salah is to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Number 4 is to make ruku'. Al-ruku' is one of the pillars of the salah. Number 5, getting up from ruku'. Getting up from ruku'. And for those who did not study the pillars before, they always have issues with this pillar, for example. What does it mean to get up from the ruku'? Everybody has to get up from the ruku'. But to get up from the ruku' to stand, getting up, the fact that a person will just get up from ruku', this is by itself is a pillar of the salah. And the ulama mention it because what gets you up from the ruku' should be the salah, not something else. Meaning, if someone is in ruku' and a loud noise happens next to him, so he would move up. This movement that he did was not with the intention of salah, it was just because he gets scared. So he moved. So then if he moved and he realized there was nothing, right? Should he then continue the salah? According to this, no. Why? Because what made him get up from the ruku' is not the salah. So in that case, in that situation, he has to go back again to ruku' and come up from ruku' as part of the salah. That what got you up from ruku' is the salah, not a loud noise, not a person is scared or whatever. So getting up from ruku' is the pillar of the salah. So this is number 5, getting up from the ruku'. So we have al-qiyam, standing, takbiratul ihram is number 2. And please make sure that you write it down. And reciting Surah Al-Fatiha is number 3. Ruku' is number 4. Getting up from ruku' is number 5. Standing after ruku' is number 6. Standing after ruku'. This is a pillar of the salah. With every joint of the body has to go back to its position while standing. So you cannot just stand real quick and go back. You have to stand in a way that all the joints would be not moving. So this is standing when the person says, Sami Allahu liman hamida rabbana wa lakal hamd, and he stands. And by the way, Sami Allahu liman hamida is when a person says it, he says it while he's moving, not after he already stood up. So standing after ruku' is a pillar of the salah, number 6. And number 7 is sujood. Sujood is a pillar of the salah, of course. And how to make sujood, of course. And how to make ruku', this is something that we will talk about later, inshallah. So a sujood is a pillar of the salah. The same way we said for ruku', we'll say for sujood. Getting up from sujood is a pillar of the salah. Getting up from the sujood. So again, a person in sujood, a loud noise scared him. He raised his head, then he should go back again. Because the hadith, even when one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the Prophet ﷺ stayed in sujood for a long time. And he was worried. He got worried about the Prophet ﷺ. Maybe something harmful happened to him. So that companion raised his head while in sujood to look what happened to the Prophet ﷺ. And he saw the grandson of the Prophet ﷺ, Al-Hasan, riding on top of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ did not want to disturb him. So then the Sahabi continued the sujood. So here is, getting up from the sujood is a pillar of the salah. Number 9, to sit between the two sajda until every joint of one's body is settled and goes back to its place. So sitting between the two sajda is a pillar of the salah. That's number 9. Then number 10 is at-tashahhud. To make tashahhud. Because now, like this, we finished the rak'ah. Number 10 is to make the tashahhud. And to make the tashahhud, that means to say at-tahiyyatu lillah wa salawatu wa tayyibat. This is what is meant by the tashahhud. To say the tashahhud. And that's the pillar of the salah, at least till Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Number 11 is to sit for the tashahhud. Is to sit for the tashahhud. So if a person makes the tashahhud while standing, that invalidates the salah unless he is not able to sit. So to sit for the tashahhud is number 11. Number 12 is the salam. And when we say the salam, the 2 salams, not just the first one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, or moving the head right and left. So this is number 12, a pillar of the salah. To make the salam, the taslim. Number 13 is that everything has to be in order. Everything has to be in order. So nobody is to make sujood before ruku'ah. So if someone forgetfully he made sujood while after standing, and then what should he do? He should go back to ruku'ah and then continue the salah from there and then make sujood as-sahw. So everything has to be in order. And the 14th pillar of the salah is at-tuma'nina. At-tuma'nina, which means to be in that state of tranquility. That means a person is not doing the salah so fast that the joint of his body is not even stopping from moving. It is going back, from one position to the other very quickly. And the tuma'nina is something to be known by the urf. And the urf is what's seen, what's known. Like if you're looking at someone, you know how the children, they make salah sometimes funny way. They stand and they fall and make themselves fall on the ground. Little children when they're 5 years old or so. When you look at them, you see that they're not praying. So the same thing, when you look at someone making sujood very fast, making ruku very fast, getting up very fast, that is very fast. It's not having any tuma'nina in the salah, so that invalidates the salah. So these are the 14 pillars of the salah. These are 14 pillars of the salah. To know these pillars of the salah, with the principles of it, is that you have to do all of the pillars of the salah. Even if a person forgetfully missed one, he still have to repeat it. If it's within the same rak'ah, then he has to go to it and continue from there. If it's already the rak'ah passed, that means this rak'ah, the entire rak'ah, is not valid if he missed a pillar in it. And then he has to make up a rak'ah and then sujood sahw. So this is basically the list of the pillars of the salah. Some of the things mentioned there, or with regards to these pillars, is again al-qiyam, unless a person has an excuse. And salatu ahl al-a'dhar, or the prayer of the people of excuses, is a separate subject, whether it's for those who are sick, whether for those who are traveling. And as a principal matters of the deen, that إذا ضاق الأمر اتسع, that means if something becomes very tight, then know that the ease will come. This is in one's life, this is in matters of fiqh, matters of deen, right? إنما العسر يسرا. Indeed, with difficulty comes the ease. So if someone, for example, is not able to do something in the salah, the ruling will be not to make it more difficult for him, but he will find the ease. So the ease is that if a person is not able to stand, then he can sit. So this pillar becomes not a pillar for him, because he's not able to stand. Or if he stands, then this might harm him. And that's why with the rulings of Salatul Jama'ah also is accordingly. So if the Imam, for example, in the middle of the Salah, something happened and he could not stand in the Salah, he can sit. But the Ma'mum behind them, they should not sit, they continue to stand. Because he started the Salah with them standing. But if the Imam from the beginning, he started the Salah sitting, then all of them should sit in the Salah from the beginning. And this is, of course, people would say, well, let someone else lead the Salah. Yes, that's what normally happens. But if the Imam is the ruler of the Muslims, or, something of that nature, he's the Imam al-Ratib and so on, then this is okay. And the Salah is valid, and it's absolutely fine that way. The issue of reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, this is very obvious that it's a pillar of the Salah for the Munfarid, for the one that prays alone, and the one that is leading the Salah, Al-Imam. For the Ma'mum, this is a valid difference of opinions among ulama, even in the silent Salah. But of course, the most correct opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is best, is that in the silent Salah, it's mandatory for the Ma'mum to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. And in the Jahri Salah, the Salah that is recited loud, is to read while the Imam is silent. So the silence of the Imam are three moments of silence for the Imam. Usually, the first one is after Takbiratul Ihram, then before reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. And the second one is after Surah Al-Fatiha, and before reciting another surah or so. And the third one is before making ruku. So in these sakatat, the person can recite, and if a person is not able to, because there's no time that the Imam gives to the Ma'mum to recite, that's fine. The qira'ah of the Imam, the recitation of the Imam, is sufficient for the Ma'mum. The Imam is leading. So people should not read while the Imam is reading, and it's not from the way the Prophet ﷺ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. With the ruku', how to perfectly make the ruku' with the back to be straight, getting up from ruku' and standing, looking at the position of the sujood. Matters of fiqh with what should be in the heart, with khushu' and devotion, they all go together. And the purpose of all of that is, when we see the ahkam, is to bring that ta'zeem and the importance of the salah in the hearts of the people. if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, He could have made the ibadah something that people would just say something. As some people, they think that they are praying to Allah when they just whisper something, or when they make some prayers or things like this. But you see how the salah is, with all of its rulings and all of its conditions and so on. This is all not just to perfectly worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to have the hearts to be upon that ta'zeem to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to exalt the orders of Allah, and to know that it's when people go to meet someone important, they would prepare themselves, and they would wear special clothing, or do all kinds of preparation for it. And the salah is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most high subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why when we're talking about these matters of fiqh and how we are so much eager to learn it so that we don't break our salah, we should also observe that what's in the heart and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs from us, so that we purify our heart and exalt the orders. Stop here, inshallah. If you have any questions, go ahead. If the Imam accidentally stand up for the fifth rak'ah in Isha, should the ma'moom stand and follow him, or sit and say subhanallah? Right. Some people, they have this issue confused because of some of the statements, or even hadith about that the Imam is not permissible for him to sit after he stands up. This is only if he misses a wajib. That's the benefit of knowing what is wajib and what is rukn and what is shart. We didn't talk about the wajibat yet. But if the Imam gets up from the second rak'ah to the third rak'ah without sitting for the tashahhud in the middle, the tashahhud in the middle is wajib, and it's not a pillar. We did not mention the middle tashahhud from the pillars of the salah. It's the last tashahhud of the salah that is a pillar. The middle tashahhud is not a pillar. So therefore, if the Imam goes from the second rak'ah to the third rak'ah without sitting for the wajib, which is the tashahhud, he should not sit down. And if he sits down after already stood up, then that invalidates the salah. And the ma'mum should stand up with the Imam, and then the Imam at the end will make sujood sahw. But the question here is about the Imam standing for the fifth rak'ah. There is no fifth rak'ah in any salah. So in that case, if the Imam stand up for a fifth rak'ah and the ma'mum say subhanallah, then the Imam, he has to sit down. And it's not something to say, well, I stood up, I have to continue standing. No. So the Imam has to sit down. What if the Imam didn't sit down? He thought that he's certain that he's in the fourth rak'ah, and the ma'mum certain that this is the fifth rak'ah. In this case, the ma'mum should not stand up and follow the Imam. And if the ma'mum knows this ruling and he stand up, his salah becomes invalid, because there's no such a thing as a fifth rak'ah. But if the ma'mum does not know the ruling and they stand up because they thought this is okay, then the salah is valid for them because of the jahl or the ignorance about the matter. But the ruling here is the ma'mum should sit down, say subhanallah. The Imam refused, for example, then to sit and to continue to sit till the Imam finish what he's doing, and he sits, and then they make salam together. Or if the Imam confuses the matter more, then the ma'mum can depart with his intention from the salah, being ma'mum, and then finish the tashahhud and make salam. Can sujood be prolonged to make dua? The salah should be in a homogeneous way, meaning that if the standing is long, then the ruku' can be long and the sujood is long. But if the standing in the salah is short and the ruku' is short and then the sujood is long, that's not from the way the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ would make a long sujood if he makes a long standing. So we should do that, inshallah. And sometimes people, they would make a long sujood in the last sajda, for example. This is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and people should not do that. But salah is not invalid or anything, but it's not the way the Prophet ﷺ. What is the proper way to rejoin salah if one departs early during prayer to make wudu? Do they reset the entire prayer or continue with the congregation where they are when they return? So if a person leaves the salah because he had to make wudu or for any reason, that means whatever he did is nothing. So when he comes back, he starts over again. So he would start from the first rak'ah. So that becomes his first rak'ah, and he continues. He does not continue or continue what he said. He has to reset it from the very beginning. Yeah. If we can't finish Al-Fatiha in third or fourth rak'ah due to Imam going to ruku' quickly, should we finish Al-Fatiha? You should not be late in following the Imam. Meaning, if the Imam makes ruku' and there's a split of a second or so that makes the person always follow the imam. So the imam made ruku' and you don't move till the imam is already in ruku' and not moving. Then you start moving. So if it's just a second or 2 seconds, that's fine. But if it makes it as if you're not following the imam, then it's not permissible, and it invalidates the salah if the imam gets up from the ruku' and you're still standing. So therefore, follow the imam even if you didn't finish. If you have one ayah to finish it quickly, then you follow him. If not, follow the imam, and this comes as a priority, even before your issue of finishing the Fatiha. If I was praying behind an imam and at the end he makes salam, can I stay in salah to finish my extra dua before I say salam, or do I have to end when the imam ends? Yes, you should end when the imam ends. If the imam made salam and you waited for a second, that's fine. But to keep on finishing what you're doing and so on, the salah is over. Salah is finished. And you're supposed to follow the imam in finishing the salah. Could you please repeat it again when the ma'moom can recite Surah Al-Fatiha? The ma'moom should recite Surah Al-Fatiha in the silent salah, Dhuhr and Asr, and in the Jahri salah if in the times when the imam is silent. And the imam is silent in the beginning of the salah before reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, and after Surah Al-Fatiha and before making ruku' if he gives a time to be silent there. If the ma'moom is not able to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, that's fine, just to follow the imam. We can only do dua in Arabic and sujood. And for the salah, make sure that you would do the dua in Arabic and the dua of the Prophet. And that when it's like this, then a person would put the effort to learn. And that makes the person away from the differences of opinions among the ulama with regards to the fardhu salah. The optional salah is more easy when it comes to this matter, but still a person should always learn the dua of the Prophet. No. So the fard, yes. Any more questions, inshallah? One last question because of the next class. In last tashahhud, if I'm done with my durood and dua and waiting for taslim, can I do istighfar until Imam says taslim? This is a good question, is because when you're a ma'moom, there's no such a thing as in the salah to be silent. Keep on saying something. So if you're standing and you finished reciting the Fatiha and Surah, right, and the Imam is still standing, recite another Surah and keep on reciting. Don't be silent whatsoever. If in the ruku', keep on saying tasbih. If in sujood, keep on make dua, right, till the Imam gets up from the sujood. If in the tashahhud you finished the tashahhud and dua, make another dua, make istighfar. And this is one of the most virtuous time of making dua, is after the tashahhud and before salam. So if the Imam is taking a long time, you continue to make, this is such a beautiful time to make dua, or istighfar, or anything in the sense of the dua. How about if we repeat after Imam Surah Al-Fatiha for every ayah? This should not be done because you should listen. Unless the Imam, he stops every ayah for a long time. Like if the Imam says, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, for example, then, but if it's not, which is usually the case, then you should listen and not to recite like that. So, Barakallahu feekum. And again, these types of majalis, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it blessed, to learn about our deen, to learn the salah, to learn matters of fiqh. This is what we need to always be reminded of, and to take this and to teach it to others, and to continue to hold fast to our deen. If I slept through witr and woke up after Fajr time started, how do I perform my witr? In that case, if already Fajr time started, you don't pray witr till after sunrise. After sunrise, you pray the witr that you missed and you add a rak'ah to it. So if you used to make witr 3 rak'ah, then you pray 4 rak'ah after sunrise. So you make up the witr with an extra rak'ah at the time of sunrise, after sunrise by 10 or 15 minutes. بارك الله فيكم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.